Welcome to Movies That Matter, the podcast about recent films going above and beyond the call of box office returns to boldly explore a social issue affecting people's lives. I'm Nicole Finari, and with me today is...
Jen.
Hey, Jen.
Hi.
What movie are we overanalyzing this week?
What Men Want.
All right, so the reboot, a gender flip of What Women Want, directed by Adam Shankman. The plot follows Ali, played by Taraji P. Henson, who after drinking a potent concoction given to her by a psychic, played by, surprisingly, Erykah Badu, and I really want to get into that. She gains the ability to hear men's inner thoughts. Also with love interest Aldous Hodge, I'm warning you now. I just think of him as Hardison because the first thing I ever saw that actor in was a show called Leverage, and that's his character name.
Okay.
So that's how I do. I'm just like, oh, it's Hardison.
All right.
Richard Roundtree, Wendy McLennan-Covey, and Tracy Morgan rounding out the cast. What did you think?
So I was skeptical. This is one of those ones where I kept seeing the preview. And you know how when there's a comedy and they keep showing the same two jokes over and over? So it kept being that Welcome to Wakanda one. And that always makes me a little bit skeptical. You know, it's a February release.
Yeah.
Comedy.
Did they just show all the funny bits in the trailer?
Exactly. And I liked it more than I thought I would. Like, I won't say that I loved it or that I would necessarily recommend, but I didn't hate it.
Okay.
It was all right.
So
I love Taraji P. Henson. Sorry.
Yeah. So I wondered if there was going to be a little controversy because the movie did not do well with critics, and I really want to get into that controversy.
Right.
Which critics are always really hard on comedies. I really liked it. Yeah. I just had a good time.
Yeah.
And it's a comedy. Yeah. That's what I'm there for.
Yeah. I didn't laugh much, though. That's the problem. I laughed a little bit, but I had very few laugh out loud moments.
I definitely had some. I think my absolute favorite, because this is just an old school thing that I'm really a fan of, was when she's flipping through the tarot cards and she gets the Uno card.
Yes,
it was such a dumb sight gag, and I was like, that was funny. I really appreciated that, guys.
Yeah, and I liked Erykah Badu. She was actually surprisingly funny. She was in Cider House Rules back in the day. That's the only time I remember her acting. But she was good in that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I've seen anything. And I was like, where did this performance come from? Because it really, you really got the sense it was a little bit ad-libbed as well.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
Especially the outtakes at the end. And I just was like... She was hilarious. Yeah, she was so good.
I was impressed that she has comedic chops because I would not have expected that, because I just think of her as, not a serious person, but just, I just wouldn't have expected sort of physical, that type of comedy. And she was,
I mean, from a non, it's not someone who you've only ever seen in dramatic roles.
Right.
She's not an actress.
Right. No, she was good. And I feel like Taraji P. Henson, I feel like what I really appreciate about her was the physical comedy. When she's getting it on with what is the character's name? Is it Will? Will. And she's just going for it. And I thought that scene was hilarious. She is clearly getting hers, and she's just rocking all back and forth in every direction. And then she falls over to the side and she hogs the covers and snores. Yeah. And I thought that whole sequence is just hilarious. And I think she's really got that physical comedy thing. I think she's really funny.
I agree. I took down in my notes, that was the funniest sex scene I've seen since Bridesmaids in the John Hamm.
I was going to
say, super awkward sex scene. Yeah. That kind of opens Bridesmaids. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was really
well
funny.
Done. I just wish the writing would have been better. I think that the actors did the best that they could with the materials given, but it's just a little hokey. It's just a little predictable.
There was, I agree. There were for sure some hokey parts. I think everybody, I just feel did I go in? Did I have a good time? I was excited for it. I had a good time. I did laugh. And I just think, what more do you want from a comedy? People are so hard on comedies.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely, yeah, like I said, I didn't laugh as much as I would have liked, but it was, you know, like I would have happily watched this on like a Saturday night at my house, you know what I mean? And been perfectly happy that I watched it.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Oh, and I was like, I mean, hello, Gen X. I was like so in for the 90s.
I was about to say, I loved the music. I loved the scene. Which scene was it where they do bills? Just that little opening sequence. And there was another one. I think you're like, I love this song.
I know.
Yeah, it was when they played
Rain, and I was like, yeah.
I think it was when they played poker.
Poker, yeah.
But yeah, they just the R&B soundtrack. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the poker scene because, like, having seen that terrible poker scene and, you know, all of them in Molly's Game and all that stuff.
Oh,
and
Molly's
I was like...
Game, that was, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, they did a good... Like, I actually think, like, the directing was adequate to the material. I agree. I think the biggest flaw in the movie is going to be the writing.
Yeah, like, it could have been a little shorter. Like, it could have been, like, a tight 90 minutes. We didn't do 2 hours.
I agree.
They let Tracy Morgan, like, and I love Tracy Morgan, but they let him go a little bit too, like, they let him ad-lib a little too much. And it was like, Tracy Morgan, what are you talking about? Like, there were a few scenes where he would, like, it was, like, just sort of on and on, like, with the smoothie. It's like, yeah, we get it, you know.
I felt like he's...
It was a little too much Tracy Morgan. And I feel bad saying that because I 30 Rock, SNL, but it's just a little too much.
He's still playing that same part.
It was exactly, and it was it didn't fit with like the rest of the movie. In terms of the comedic tone. Exactly. It was totally different. It was, yeah. And it didn't make any sense with like him and the son. Like what was there? You never really saw much connection. Like you never got really much out of the son at all, really. Like so do you want me to like the premise is that she's a sports agent. She doesn't make partner yet again, and she wants to get this kid who's like the all-star. She wants to sign him so she can finally get what she deserves because she's a good agent.
Yeah, she's told she has a pretty thick roster of female clients, including freaking Serena Williams, and that's not good enough because she doesn't have, you know, NFL, MLB, or NBA. Right. So they're like, you can't get promoted.
And so the kid at the center of it is, and I you know what this movie also kind of reminded me of was Jerry Maguire. Like I feel like it had like
quite intentionally, I think.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Parts, yeah.
Like that last scene where she's holding hands with Will and the son. They bonded and they're walking through the park. It's exactly like the last scene in Jerry Maguire, where they're all walking through the park together.
Great. Maybe she can get nominated for an Oscar.
Exactly. Yeah. But I feel like a big part of Cuba Gooding Jr. won an Academy Award for that role. And like this kid was not given the same level of material, nor did he. Yeah. He's just he's a little flat, you know.
Yeah.
I guess that would probably be how a kid who does nothing but who plays a lot of basketball and is very good at it and has a lot of people talking at him would be, you know, like I just want to hang out and be a teenager and, you know, play basketball. So, but yeah, there wasn't a lot there in terms of the character. I didn't see any bond really between him and his dad or, you know.
No, they didn't have very good chemistry. And then the mom shows up for a scene and that was
what was the mom?
Weird and awkward. Like they tried to introduce a thing and then it didn't go work. Anywhere.
Didn't
no.
Work.
So yeah, I mean,
too much.
By no means was it a perfect movie. But what was at the heart of the controversy, which I actually was like, I feel this is really undeserved, is most critics panned it for two basic things. Okay, one, it wasn't a very good movie of what men want. Which, fine. No, it wasn't. I don't care. It was called that, but it really didn't have anything to do with that.
She just could hear their thoughts.
And I don't.
That's it.
I was just like, yeah, okay. So they were trying to capitalize off of an earlier property, but they really went in a different direction. That's not a criticism to me. But people took issue with her as a character being so, I'll say, combative. And they didn't feel like she had, you know, much personal growth, or that the message of the movie as to how she needed to achieve personal growth was poorly pulled off.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that at all.
No, like, I do agree in the sense that, yeah, her figuring out her shit or her business was not about figuring out what men want, because what does that even mean? It was just, like you say, a device, like a plot device. But I do feel like the character did have some personal growth. I really liked her story arc with her assistant. Because when I was first watching the beginning of the movie, it was like, oh, not another one of these types of things. And I've been thinking about this a lot recently, where the idea that you're a boss and you're doing well in your career means that you have some assistant that you can treat like crap, you know? And I really liked their story arc of, you know, her kind of serving as a mentor to him. And then they also had this friendship. And then, I don't know, I just thought that little scene where she said he gets to be an agent at her new agency was moving.
I did too, but I think they set up her issue and her problem as she doesn't understand team. She's really self-centered. She's really self-involved. But it's a defense mechanism that she's created to be in this, like, locker room boys club. Exactly. And I'm like, that resonated perfectly with me. I'm like, what? I didn't understand why anyone took issue as when you see guys running around being complete a-holes and you're like, oh, this is what I need to do to make it. I gotta outman the men. Right. I'm like, that's a really logical conclusion that a lot of women, I probably myself at various points in my life have like taken that on, of to say, you know, you've got to be 10 times as, you know, quote unquote butch as the next dude. And that she doesn't understand that, yeah, that type of man exists, but other men don't like him either. Right. And they want somebody who is more collaborative, who understands teamwork, who can get along with other people. And I just was like, I think the movie made that message really clearly.
And I didn't even think it was necessarily about teamwork. Like, I agree. I thought it was nonsense. Like, she should have been made a partner, and it was ridiculous that she wasn't made a partner. And there was no sort of personality thing that she needed to overcome in order to do that, because their reasons for not making her partner were nonsense. You know what I mean? But I do think, like, one thing I liked about it was that the story arc wasn't, I should be as big of a jerk and treat people as poorly as they do in order to get ahead. It was more like being connected with who she wants to be, and with, you know, and with sort of her friends, and like, and doing the work in the way that she wants to do it, not trying to play a role for them, but going about her career in a way that she wanted to go about it. Yeah. And that's what I appreciated.
Yeah. And I think you sort of see, like, all the men who are clearly, there are so many valid reasons for why she is the way she is. Absolutely. They're passing over for partnership multiple times. They all go to this freaking poker game and they all lie to her about the fact that it even exists and won't invite her. Yeah. And that is such a classic.
Absolutely.
Classic element of how men shut women out of career opportunities.
And the guy that she thinks is her ally is really the one who's been voting against her being a partner the whole time.
Right. But then they have the guy who she assumes is her enemy, and he is just like very matter of fact. And they do a little bit with the Will love interest character, try to be like, men have feelings too. Okay. Yeah. Fine. But the real work message is her other coworker looks at her and is like, I voted for you every time. It was simply a numbers game. Right. He was like, I didn't vote on emotion. Yeah. You put up the numbers, therefore you should be partner. And he's like, I didn't. And the whole, like, personality didn't factor into it with him. He was just, very, for him, it was a meritocracy. And I thought it was really nice, to see that balance and to see how her, her very cultivated personality put real blinders on in terms of being able to assess who was her friend and who was her enemy.
And like in a situation like that, it's like, yeah, like you were saying about like has to be twice as good. And it's like, yeah, all of those things are true. Like there's a reason why you'd have a big boardroom table like that. And she's the only Black woman sitting around the table. Like really, she's the only woman, right? Sitting around that table in those scenes.
Right.
And I think there's like one other Black dude.
Right.
But other than that, she's the only person of color.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And I guess, so on that level, I share the criticism that there wasn't anything that her way of looking at the world was not wrong in terms of, her work situation. And the reason that she wasn't getting ahead wasn't because of her personality. Like, I think what I saw it as was more of a personal fulfillment. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think of it that way until you're saying it now, but you make an excellent point. The point of the movie wasn't, thankfully, or at least that's my read. The point of the movie wasn't she learns how to be a kinder, softer person and finally fits into their world.
Right.
She learns, I don't need your world.
Exactly.
I can do this without you.
And it takes a literal superpower, being able to hear their thoughts to be able to, sort of crack the code or what have you of, making partner. Because it was nonsense.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, why?
Yeah, I'm so mad on Taraji's behalf.
Yeah, and then it's like it got panned, and I'm like, no, it made a very clear point. It made a pretty empowering point without trashing men in the process, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that it was muddled, I think it's very easy for me to say that's what I got watching it. I have no idea what it was trying to do. I don't know if it was clear, but that was my message from it, was that.
I saw the same message. Like I actually did think it was clear.
Yeah.
And I wanted to stray into it did have kind of a fine line to walk in that sense in terms of not alienating every man who wants in the movie, which if we could circle back to what women want, I feel like should have alienated every woman who wants.
Right.
Because the portrayal of women was so
exactly
terrible. And here they kind of, play for laughs, some dudes thinking about stupid stuff, but it's a lot of normal everyday thoughts.
Right, right.
Which I was like, they could have gone the what women want route, made every man some disgusting, misogynist or whatever.
Right,
in all of his thoughts as what women want. Like, every woman was insecure in that movie. Like, no woman in the movie ever thinks, damn, I'm killing it in this dress. Like, ever. It's so annoying. And I thought one of the things they played really well is they do get into her, personal relationships, and they show that she's just not really showing up for her friends. But she has friends. She has a group of friends, not just like one best friend sidekick. And they're women. So I thought that was really necessary for the movie. Much. Where they don't make her the type of woman who's like, oh, I don't know why I don't have any female friends.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. It was a valuable, especially because the whole work world, all of those scenes, it was just her as the only woman. So without those friends, it would have been, it would have totally thrown off the balance.
Right. And again, the movie could have gone that route where, she doesn't have any female relationships. She has her dad, she's the man's, woman, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, thank you for not going that way.
And there is still something about it, though, and this is with me with like any romantic comedy, and that's essentially what this was.
Oh,
it's a romantic comedy. Is that it's always like, if you just settle down a bit, like just, you're too intense, if you just calm down, take a little bit off the edges, like you will find happiness. I feel like that's always the message for the like female protagonist in a romantic comedy. And this did not stray from that in any way. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, if you just, stop being so mad all the time and, like just open up your heart and, value the people. And it's all, those things are all true. It's just funny to me that that's always the...
And that was part of the criticism too. And I think it's legitimate. I think I give this movie a pass on two fronts. One, she had to learn how to be a better friend too.
Yes. Yeah.
It wasn't just that she had to learn to like show up for all of her personal relationships in order to...
Not just the
it wasn't
love
just
interest.
the love interest. And
Absolutely.
honestly, you're totally right. They could have not had a love interest and just had her like, I'm starting my own firm, boss lady. Like, and this movie would have been perfect.
Right. But he was hot. You know, the kid was cute. It was fine. Like...
I'm for that actor. Anytime
I feel like I've seen that actor in something else, and I just like couldn't quite place him. But he was. I definitely recognize him.
I believe he's in Atlanta, the TV show. If you've seen that,
I've only seen.
He's been in a few things. Like he's been popping up. Like I said, I have this nasty habit carryover from my parents where it's like the first thing I ever saw you in is how you're tagged in my mind.
Yeah.
He's. So he was a bit superfluous to me. And I agree with you that the lesson that she learns to appreciate the guy is really not carried off well. Like, because the movie just ultimately is a workplace comedy, masquerading as a rom-com.
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't know what to do as a rom-com.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
But in terms of her having to, like, open her heart, blah, 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 they don't make her uptight. Right. That's usually to me the standard. Hey, she drinks the tea. She does the things in the club. And
but when they show, the
low-cut dresses,
the opener is her on her treadmill. That's why I was like, I rolled my eyes when this opened because when the first scene, it's her running. She's running on the treadmill. She's on the phone. She's making demands. She's barking orders at the assistant. It's just like very like stereotypical rom-com. It's like. She's so busy. She's doing too much. She would just,
I hear that. I agree with you in a certain sense, but I do think, like, I'm thinking of sort of the character Knocked Up.
Which was the most offensive. Oh, God.
As the prototypical, like, there's a lot of, like, she's too uptight.
Right.
And this woman's, like, having one night. She's too uptight. Doing freaky
But
things.
She only did that because she didn't get the promotion.
I felt like it was implied that this was not atypical.
But it's like,
she's not a prude.
I let out, but she's uptight in the sense that she's not,
she's ambitious.
Yeah, she's short with people. She's, I think that's part of it. And I think that's what's offensive about the rom-com woman trope. Yeah.
I agree that
so it did not, what am I trying to say? Overcome or...
I just feel like his job wasn't to loosen her up. It was just to make her more emotional.
Yeah, I think that's the whole plot of the movie is to like loosen her up, like.
See, okay. See,
and I
feel like it was to channel her energies in a different direction.
Right. I think that is the more charitable reading of it, but I can certainly just see in terms of that, like just that very serious, it follows all those beats of like a rom-com, like uptight woman,
Yeah, it really didn't need to be a
down a few notches.
It should have just not had that.
And one thing, like I said, I do appreciate is that it wasn't the love interest was not the thing that like made her change. Like that, her change wasn't driven by the, her relationship or her connection with him.
Right. I did want to point out too, like, I will get on an actor's case for this. No problem. Yeah. Wow. So Taraji P. Henson was born in 1970.
Yeah.
So that makes her 48.
48. Yeah, she has the most amazing skin.
So,
because I am.
Yep. Aldous Hodge, born 1986. So I was like, she's definitely playing amazing. Younger.
I am a Black woman and I am 35 and I do not have her glowing complexion. Like, she is using that cocoa butter.
I'm making the like...
Yeah.
Come on,
86, so that makes him 33.
That's 15 years?
That's all right with me.
I'm for it. I was
no,
like,
you're right.
It's about time. Put a younger man in there and never discuss it.
And I think it is worth, it's notable that she is older than the usual age of the rom-com, the typical rom-com protagonist,
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
At the same time, though, what I really liked about that, I would have guessed her, I thought she might be at least 40. Like, I would have guessed her way younger, but my skepticism
I
was
only know
like...
because she has a son, and he was he's a student at Howard, and he was pulled over. So I knew she was, at least old enough to have
a college-age kid, yeah. I'm like, there could be a little Botox in there. I don't know. I don't care. It's subtle.
I'm ready for a skincare line. I'm gonna buy every product.
But the one thing, they have the kid, and of course they sort of introduce she has to be a family woman, but they definitely don't play her as on the shelf spinster lady whose eggs are drying up.
Exactly.
Her age is not discussed. It's not an issue. It's not
at all
a thing in this movie, which was awesome. There were some cheap shots they could have taken. And I think it's pretty progressive to have this movie. And they also they were missing one trope, which can be really popular. I don't know if you're aware of this in Black comedies, which is the race clueless white friend.
Yes.
They had a white friend. She was clueless about a lot of things.
Yes, she was.
But she didn't play that part. I realize it's...
Well, and they had the coworkers.
Yeah, and that was fine, but they weren't
Well, the video.
They were totally clueless in so many different ways, but there's just a lot of I don't know, audience foil of there has to be this dumb white person who doesn't who is well-meaning but just doesn't understand anything, and they just didn't have that character in this movie.
Well, I would say they did though.
Oh, okay.
So the scene where the agency that she works at, and they're trying to impress the kid by showing them just what a full agency can do. And so they show this video, and it's so offensive. It's like a rap video from the 90s. So it's got look at all the women shaking their butts, and here's some gold, and here it's just every offensive stereotype of what a young Black guy would like. And you see and that was the one time I saw...
Wait. An old Black guy would like, because everybody was this was some 90s stuff,
so
right?
what a person would think that a young
that somebody
Black
totally
man would,
as I'm saying
be impressed by
circa 1990.
Exactly.
Not even so out of touch, generationally out of touch, as well as
exactly. Because they don't know, and so just having here's some butt shaking, and he'll be so blown away by it. And that was the one time I saw some personality out of the kid, because he's the look of disgust on his face. What is this? Why are you wasting my time with this?
Yeah.
And then seeing how the dude who ended up departing to go to her new agency, the one who actually was voting for her as partner, was behind that one, and he was nodding oh yeah, I nailed it with this one.
Yeah.
It was just you're clueless. The only thing that was weird to me about that scene was that kid was well, I would just like to be I would just like to go play basketball, and it was but he didn't have any comment directly on what is this, or
and
it never really got addressed. It was
it didn't, and it just seemed really,
because it was offensive.
It was, and you're right.
Racist and sexist.
Yeah, all of it. And I was thinking there wasn't that person in her towards her, but you're right. That was totally the that was the out of touch white person trying to connect and getting it all wrong. So fair enough. Still there.
Yeah, they're always there.
We're there to be ridiculed. That's fine.
Yeah. Because
it's real. I know.
Yeah. And it's also in her situation, they're the ones, and like that's who has the power, you know?
And that's where I think they could have dug a little bit deeper,
Mm-hmm.
which is, you know, there's a lot of people who've talked, you know, criticized the NCAA system and the quote unquote plantation mentality. Mm-hmm. I felt like they had that one scene, but there could have just been a few moments where they really show you that, you know, this whole world of like white
Mm-hmm.
is vastly representing like non-white clients.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't really.
No, they did not. Yeah, they're making a lot of money off of you, and there's this whole apparatus that's making a lot of money off of you, and yeah, Or
then, you know, the flip side where disproportionate money goes, sports money or sponsorship money goes to white athletes despite, you know, actual poorer like performance, right? So they kind of they put the insiest of toes in, which to me then you're like, well, you put a toe in. Now you maybe should have like put a few moments in there that sort of addressed like this total discrepancy of like who the owners are, who the agents are, and then who the players are. Like,
right.
And I was like, you missed that opportunity, and for a movie that was trying to be all things to all people.
Right.
Like,
it was doing a lot.
Yeah.
It was, because it's like you've got the, like and I really like what you're saying about it being like a workplace comedy, sort of trying to be a, you know, romantic comedy. And then, you know, it's like they could have gone full Jerry Maguire and gone like a little bit more of the dramedy route, you know, where you've long speeches about, you know,
they didn't.
how an agent, how an agent, you know, is it to have this connection with the client, and, you know.
Oh, that part.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was like, you had me at hello, and I was like, please no. Please no.
No, I was talking about the level
of
representing, and sort of, you know, like, you know, this man has a family, has all of these other sort of stressors on his life, and getting into more of that. And I really do feel like in some ways it was like, oh yeah, it's like a Jerry Maguire light. Like they took some plot points from it, but you couldn't do the whole thing. And so, you know, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Erykah Badu. That was one of the big surprises for me.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about the friends a lot, like in detail. Like I liked that sort of scene with the bridal shower. What was it? The bachelorette party?
Mm-hmm.
I like the wedding scene. I thought was fairly funny.
I was going to ask you that. I thought it was funny too.
Yeah, I thought
so she has this big like truth telling moment because she's been hearing everybody's thoughts about like cheating husbands and fiancés and like airs a bunch of dirty laundry during this wedding.
Yeah, she's drinking a lot at that point because she's so stressed out by hearing every man's thoughts and downing one glass of wine after another, and then sort of lets it all out at the wedding and causes a commotion. And it was a good scene.
It was funny, and she pays the price for it to a certain extent, but the message is still. The delivery was bad. But yeah, you protect your girls, man. Right. If you know that your fiance is cheating on you left, right, and center, like, you don't let her marry him. But I did, you know, speaking of chemistry, like, even so, I still thought they had a good group dynamic. They looked like they were really friends. Like, their scenes together were fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, Erykah Badu just stole the show out from...
Yeah, no, I loved her. I loved when they went to visit her at the beauty shop. And yeah. All of that was great. The Dionne Warwick reference, all of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then after, there were still like a few more scenes with her.
Yeah. Just stay while the credits. There's some good ad-lib in there. Yeah. All right. So,
thumbs up.
All in all, thumbs up. Social impact score, 1 to 10.
All right. I'm going to give this like a 3. Like,
keep in mind, again, 3. It's February. Everything is awful. I think it didn't beat the Lego Movie.
It's Black History Month.
Didn't beat the Lego Movie, but did come in as number 2 in the box office. So it's not doing terribly.
No, it's doing fairly
it's doing pretty well. Okay, so 3.
3.
Not Black History Month, no?
No. I mean, last year we had Black Panther. I mean, we were just getting started in 2019. I'm excited to see what else is out there.
Yeah.
But this is just it was a romantic comedy. There's nothing about it that, like I think in some ways it was better than average, but at the end of the day, and I love Taraji P. Henson, at the end of the day, romantic comedy.
Okay. 3. I'm going to give it a 5 for a couple of reasons. Mainly that, it... Now I feel like I'm reversing position, but like it wasn't a Tyler Perry movie. Like it was a movie that was aimed to have general appeal. Like it wasn't trying to niche market like itself. I felt like it was.
You're on a whole other topic, but
this is the social impact.
But Tyler Perry is like a whole.
Oh yeah, and I'm sorry, it is, and you're right, and I shouldn't have opened it, and that's unfair. But I guess I'm just trying to say like, where studios have really tried to pigeonhole movies that have, people of color to those communities, right? I felt like they put some money and some effort into this that Taraji P. Henson, coming off of Hidden Figures, is getting to be enough of a household name and a bankable asset that she can lead a movie and people feel confident in that. She is older. She's not some 20-something, and she's beautiful, but she has curves. She's not a twig. She's not Zoe Saldana, right?
Right. Very different.
Very different. Like, and so to me, I'm like, I feel like this movie is progressive.
I think
like
5 is fair.
For being just a standard rom-com that isn't like, this is a black movie. You know what I mean? Like, it isn't trying to sell itself in February, African American History Month. Good for it. Like, just make a movie and have a black lead character and just have that be the end of the story. Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it. With having a movie be like, this is, this is an Africa, like this is a.
No, I'm sorry. I don't mean to say that it would be wrong if it were built a different way. I'm just saying, like, it's nice to see that, it's just so historically been true that studios won't put that kind of money into an advertising budget and that kind of stuff, because they're like, well, the people who are in this community are going to see it. We'll just bank on that. And we're sure we can't convince anybody who's, not X to see it. So we're not even going to try.
Yeah. And it's interesting also because it's like last year there was like, I forget the name, that there was like an action movie with Taraji P. Henson where they basically buried it because they were like, they didn't want to put the money into marketing it. And part of the reason they didn't want to put the money into marketing it is because they were like, black actors leading movies won't play overseas. So they basically didn't bother to market it overseas. And it, it got some attention in the sense of like, this is a woman who, has a popular TV show, just came off of a huge movie, is well liked. And you make this assumption. And she brought up that Will Smith actually had, when he faced the same thing, but was significantly further along in his career, and said, you know what? You won't pay for overseas. I'll pay for it myself. And I will go overseas and promote this movie. And I do, I just appreciate Taraji P. Henson just sort of always keeping it real and just, of course they were willing to put money into this because it's a romantic comedy. It's, they think of it as a sure bet. But like, I just appreciate that she's still... like that she's leading movies, that she, and I want them to give her due because I feel like she does so many things well and she's fantastic.
Yeah, I do think this represents a small but actual significant step forward where we stop trying to pigeonhole movies based on the cast.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Recommendations for the week?
Well, so one, I'll say, can I recommend a TV show?
Yeah, I'm going to. You better not recommend the same one.
So I was going to say Sex Education.
Okay, good.
Which is on Netflix, which I really enjoyed, mainly because it has a very diverse cast. And it's doing another type of common trope where it's, the high school comedy type of thing. And I just appreciated the diversity of the cast and also just that they tried to do something different with it.
So my recommendation is actually a different Netflix show. So y'all do it. See Russian Doll.
Oh, I loved Russian Doll.
It's really
I really
good.
loved it.
There's a bit of an investment. Yeah, it's I'm not ruining anything by saying it's got sort of a Groundhog Day theme, but believe me, by the time you think like I can't really watch this one more time, the whole show will shift and you will have renewed interest. It's a bit of a slow build. It has a good payoff. I was really worried I was going to watch this whole season and then like still have no understand nothing, and that doesn't happen.
Yeah, no, I loved it.
All right, so we hope you enjoyed this episode of Movies That Matter. We are very happy in February to have a chance to review a movie we actually liked. Take a second to leave us a review on iTunes, recommend us to your friends, go to our website, moviesthatmatterpodcast.com. Check Twitter to see what movie we're doing next. We're at Movies Matter Pod. And remember, movies matter.
And so do you.
We'll see you next time.